I'll be covering Wynd, Tinian, and I must admit this issue has a lot of its own Wynd issues. But first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which you can see on the cover that we see the main character who is in the grasp of somewhat a giant hand. So for that, I give the cover a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the internal art, which we get to have a look around the beginning, middle and end, and also what's happening story-wise. So as we move into the beginning of the story, we have some totally unforgettable characters. And I mean it, they're completely forgettable. Not unforgettable, but forget, because you feel like you know some of these characters, but not all. And I want to say that this story is killing itself with kindness. Alright, I'll now jump a little bit towards the middle. And as we move into the scene of the middle, we end up catching up with Wynd, Roderick, the Duke, and a couple of others, including one of the fairies who'd have ended up encountering. And of course, they're in a hot spring. And last but not least, some art towards the end. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the story. So this being the third volume of the Wynd series, of course I won't be covering references, even though it wouldn't hurt to have it in the series. So do we get any indication of time as to when certain events are taking place? No, we don't. Moving into the next area, locations. Well, we couldn't make out anything of where they were in the first part of it. I think it's meant to be the Weirdwood, but it's not really clear as to where it is. Of course, I managed to make out the hot spring, and one of the members of the team connected to Wynd actually makes mention of Pipetown, to which he believes he made a bit of a stuff up. The cast of characters consisting of Roderick, Duke Yadriel, Oakley, who's also Wynd's sister, Ash. We also have General X, and last but not least, the character of Wynd, to which this character revolves around. If I want to be completely blunt about this story is absolutely dying. And the thing is with James Tynion, I get what he's trying to do with this story. It's very long-winded, I must admit that. There can be a lot of nice dialogue, but there are just places where it's not really sitting in, and it's lacking consistency. Sure, it's great to see dialogue between characters, but when that dialogue kills, say, for example, maybe an important time that's taking place in the story, it kills that off. Even the locations, when they aren't specifically mentioned, it too also plays a part in the depth of this story. So my overall story rating for this is a 6 out of 10. Issue 4 will quite likely be my last issue, to which I'll be reviewing because I'll be dropping indies in the for the upcoming month. as well as some Marvel titles. So for the upcoming month, it'll be the last of all indie titles and the last of all Marvel titles. So until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day. This comic review, I'll be covering Wynd, Volume 3, Issue 4, which is called Thrown in the Sky. And starting off with first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the internal art in relation to the story, as well as some of the things that are happening with the story. So looking around the beginning, have the characters of Oakley and Wynd, and I totally forget this guy's name. All I remember is I think he's a prince or he's a friend of the prince. As the journey continues, we meet up with General X, spelled EKS, as you can see here, and they're talking about some of the people who are traveling with them in relation to the Weird Woods. Again, would have been nice if it was mentioned here that they were in the Weird Woods, but James Tynion forgot that. Where he can excel in some places, he really falls in others. And I don't care if this is an indie comic or not. These items are important in the story. Now we starting to move into somewhat a bit of a splash page, and they end up basically being on a giant who's basically taking him around basically the and that. The story continues and we meet up with Wynd, and of course his handshake with the prince. Well, we know that's a little bit more, but in that essence it's a pretty well written story. I would like to bring it a little bit further in the story, and it's here. And now this is one thing I really like, and I think it really would have made the story better if it actually covered this in the area of time, but it lacked it very badly. And in it we have the character of Wynd speaking with, I think it's someone by the name of Strawberry or Miriam, and he learns a little bit more about the origins of like the giants and stuff in this universe from the fairies and other things. And I really enjoyed this part of the story, but did it really help with the rating, with the missing elements? And you'll soon find out when we get to that. So jumping towards the end, and we meet up with a big bad. So the next thing is the art rating, to which I gave the art rating a 7.5 out of 10. I really have enjoyed the art in this story, but sometimes the story highly misses the mark. So first things first, in regards to the story rating, did we get any comic references to any other comics that's connected to this series that might bear some importance as to where this comic run is going? None at all. It would not hurt to include it. The next area is that of time. Do we get any indication in regards to time? Not at all. And because of that, and especially what's being shared in the story, it has lost a lot of points. The next is that of the area of the location, to which we had talk of Pipetown. We had the Weird Woods, but it wasn't marked, which was really stupid. But moving into last but not least, something he does sort of get right in relation to this, and that is the cast of characters. Or, well, some of them, not all of them. Wynd, Oakley, General X, Strawberry, and Marion. To which I gave this story an overall rating of 6.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.